and we'll see what happens. Listen, if Islam may retire.
I can feel him.
He may retire. He's done a lot. He's competed in 2 different weight classes and won world championships in 2 different weight classes. If he beats Ian, if he submits Ian and says, I've had enough, I'm going to do what Khabib did and I'm going to coach now, I could see that. And then I could see Morales protest for the fucking undisputed title.
Yeah.
But everybody shut up. I mean, Ian had it right. Ian played that right, and I'm just sharing for you. Now what, he's a bad guy because he said something nice about women? God, I'd like to be there with you. I can't. We hate Ian because Ian stood by his wife. I'd like to be there with you, but I just can't. And Ian's ability to draw, even if it's with booze, his ability to draw.
Who wins?
Bro, I think of course Makhachev gonna win.
You think Makhachev wins?
I think, but I truly believe Ian Garry have really good skills to beat him. You know, I think Makhachev gonna win because Ian Garry is the underdog. So he's Makhachev is a double champ. You know, a really good fighter. But I really believe Ian have a really good skills to beat Makhachev.
Yeah. Who would you prefer to fight at the end of this thing, right? Because I know a lot of people say, if you're next, right? A lot of people will say stuff like, I want to beat the guy, right? So if Islam's the guy, if he's the double champion, he's been in both weight classes champion, I'd rather him be the person that I beat for the belt. But on the other hand, you have Ian Garry, a guy who owns a victory over you that I'm sure you would like to get it back. So if you had your choice as to who would be holding the title when you get your opportunity, who would that be?
Bro, that lose to Ian is still hurting me a little bit, you know? It's still a little bit painful, you know?
Why? Do you think you froze up a little bit in that fight?
Bro, I hate to lose. I'm really bad loser, you know? I stopped to play soccer and collective sports because when you lose, I fight. Usually I fight somebody or things like that because I hate to lose. So that lose for me is still a little bit painful. So I think me and Ian, we still have some business to do.
So you'd prefer Garry be the guy that's holding that belt?
Yeah.
So
they both would be good, you know. For the legacy, Makhachev is great, you know. He former double champ, he just one loss, a lot of winning streak. But for me, by person, I prefer Ian.
Do you know what? I think this is going to be Islam's toughest fight that we've seen recently. I think that stylistically, Ian Garry is a pretty bad matchup for him, to be honest. He's long, rangy, moves really well. You don't often see him getting taken down and held there. Super tall, super elusive, elite striking, judges the distance really well. He's young, he's fresh, he's not had loads of damage or anything like that. He's not got a lot of miles on the clock. But then we're talking about Islam Makhachev, mate. In my opinion, pound for pound number one, or in the argument at the minute for that. Once he gets hold of you, you're done. He's got that left head kick. People are saying, there's reports across the board, he's the strongest person that people have ever fought. Apparently he's so physically strong, which is something that you can't see on TV.
What, just from a wrestling perspective?
Yeah, I think that's something that you can't really see. I mean, when you watch an opponent, right, you can always see the speed that they move, the techniques that they're using, the game plans and all that kind of stuff. What you can't see is how strong somebody is physically. I've seen multiple guys, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje and people like that saying that, wait, has he even fought Justin Gaethje? Don't think he has he? He mustn't. No, it must have been somebody else. Must have been somebody else, but I've seen multiple guys say how strong he is physically. And once he gets older guys, they don't seem to be able to escape. Ian Garry, though, very tough guy to get hold of, moves his feet really well, does everything good, and I think people overlook him But mate, the guy can fight. The guy can definitely fight.
I see it as a real test for Islam. Obviously, he beat JDM and became the champion, and JDM was the champion and had a really good run leading up to that fight. But I feel like, all right, this is a real welterweight challenge in the way that Ian Garry is a true welterweight, and he's going to pose those issues that we have questions about. Do you think he's the hardest fight for Islam Makhachev in the division right now?
Yeah, he probably is. Yeah.
Do you reckon it's between him and Morales? Probably. I mean, Shavkat
Morales is a beast,
back.
but he's not as his defense is not as refined as Ian's. I mean, again, I'm going to say Ian's footwork is very good. His distance management is very good. He's got a very good series of lancing attacks. His takedown defense is excellent. Shavkat didn't get him down until like the 4th or the 5th, and even then, yes, he did get him down. And so I think this will be kind of interesting to see what kind of takedowns he uses. If you guys recall,
Islam Makhachev is 5'11", so huge height discrepancy right there. But we're gonna break down Islam Makhachev to see how he gets it done. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe. Also, hit the bell to never go live. Now, this fight, Islam Makhachev, he came out.
With the final countdown to Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Garry underway, the welterweight title fight is getting closer by the hour. Islam remains the clear favorite, but many experts believe Garry has the skills to make him work for it. Fighters and MMA analysts have already explained why this could be a much tougher challenge than the odds suggest. Now, with fight night almost here, all eyes are on whether Garry can pull off the upset or Islam can once again prove why he sits at the top.
Islam Makhachev has the grappling advantage in this fight against Ian Garry.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tick my check mark in that box as well.
Yeah, I mean, Bilal Muhammad is not near what Islam Makhachev is on the cage or on the ground, and he was able to have success at trapping Ian up against the cage. And everybody knows that fights start on the feet, but the cage is also a very useful tool to get somebody dragged down to the ground, and Islam's team does it better than anybody else. They kind of wrote the blueprint for how to use the cage as an apparatus within the arena and have success. All of the chaining, we call it chain wrestling, but now it's like chain cage work, right? The wizards to the underhooks to the body locks to dropping down, changing levels, getting to the legs, and finding your way to pull somebody down off the cage. Islam's better than anybody at that, and we saw Bilal Muhammad have some success against Ian Garry multiple times. He was able to trap Ian, and I don't even think Bilal's striking is near as good as Islam. So Islam pushing that pressure will get Ian Garry backed up against the cage. Probably not in the first round or two, because like we said, Ian's so good at lateral movement and staying long and staying away from the danger. But eventually he's going to wind up with his back against the cage, and he's going to have to deal with Islam's body locks and Islam closing distance.
Wow, that's tough. That is a tough one. Honestly, like, I feel like it's going to kind of be like, he's never really fought a guy that tall and that, like, weird. Like, ooh, that's tough. You know, like, I have a feeling Islam's gonna win, but it'll be like in the later rounds, like kind of like what he did with Dustin. After he gets in close, I think he secures the takedown. I know Ian's grappling is top tier, but I just don't think he can handle Islam, because everyone said the same thing with when Islam went against Charles, and Islam just put him away, made his ground look like nothing. So I'm like, I can never doubt Islam ever again, you know. So I'm gonna take Islam for this one.
Islam. Yeah. I mean, I think that on the feet, stylistically, is definitely the weirdest matchup that he had. It's just not the most dangerous matchup. And I think if you're going to beat Islam, you're going to have to take him out.
Luke Thomas was clearly leaning toward Islam Makhachev, saying that it was very difficult to pick against him because he is the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the sport. However, Thomas did not see Ian Machado Garry as an easy opponent. He pointed out that elite champions can sometimes struggle when they face a hungry #1 contender who has earned his shot and has everything to prove. In Thomas's view, Garry fits that exact description. He is coming into the fight with confidence, motivation, and a style that could create problems for Islam. Thomas ultimately expected Islam to win, but he believed Garry was a very real threat.
I think, for me personally, it's very, very difficult right now to pick against Islam Makhachev. This is not some grand revelation. He's the pound for pound number one guy in the sport. So like this is, I'm not like blowing your audience's mind at this present moment. But I think what I would say is this is exactly the kind of fight that, like, how do I say this? When I see elite guys get tripped up, it's often in scenarios like this, where they're fighting a number one contender, but the fan base might not really respect the B side, or they might begrudgingly respect that he deserves the title shot, but he doesn't have much of a shot, and they're nonplussed about his offense, and he doesn't have the same level of a distinguished career as the champion by any stretch of the imagination.
Thomas continued by explaining why he thought this could be a much more difficult fight than people expected. He said Garry was a live dog and that it would be extremely impressive if Islam simply went in there and made him look like nothing. Thomas was not expecting that kind of one-sided performance because of Garry's defensive ability. He believed Garry could force Islam to solve several problems throughout the fight, especially because fighters on the rise can sometimes give established champions unexpected difficulties. For Thomas, that made this matchup far more interesting than a simple champion versus challenger fight. Bedtime MMA was extremely confident in Islam Makhachev, predicting that he would defeat Ian Machado Garry by decision. He acknowledged that Garry has several advantages, including his height, reach, striking technique, fight IQ, and takedown defense. He also believed Garry could give Islam problems with his leg kicks, particularly the inside calf kick, and saw the head kick as a real danger. Still, Bedtime MMA felt Islam's wrestling would ultimately decide the fight. He expected Islam to win the later rounds by getting Garry down and controlling him on the ground. Bedtime MMA explained that he could see Garry winning the first or second round, especially because of his striking and movement. However, he believed Islam would become more effective as the fight progressed. He praised Islam's boxing, body kicks, and straight left, while arguing that Garry may struggle to consistently land his jab. He also pointed to Islam's ability to avoid punches from elite strikers such as Dustin Poirier and Alexander Volkanovski. For Bedtime MMA, the biggest difference was Islam's wrestling and grappling, which he considered significantly better than Shavkat Rakhmonov's. Artem Lobov warned that Islam should not be underestimated on the feet. He believed Makhachev remains an underrated striker and has enough pressure and power to make Garry uncomfortable. Lobov pointed out that Carlos Prate managed to hurt Garry late, while Shavkat Rakhmonov also found success by landing heavy shots and working effectively in the clinch. Because Islam is stronger, more disciplined, and capable of mixing his striking with wrestling, Lobov expected him to create similar problems for Garry. In his view, Islam would not simply wait for the perfect takedown, but would pressure Garry and force him into difficult exchanges. The biggest deciding factor for Lobov was Islam's wrestling. He expected Makhachev to consistently shoot for takedowns and eventually get Garry to the ground, pointing out that even Volkanovski had to rely on scrambling rather than simply stopping Islam's initial attacks. Lobov believed this would be especially difficult for Garry because he does not have the kind of one-punch knockout power that could instantly punish Islam for taking risks. He believed Islam would drag Garry into the later rounds, where the champion's wrestling and grappling would eventually become too much. Aaron Bronstetter believed Ian Machado Garry had a legitimate chance against Islam Makhachev, mainly because of the huge size difference between the two fighters. He pointed out that Garry is around 6'3" and has a significant reach advantage, which is especially important because Garry uses his length to control fights. Bronstetter also viewed this as a major test for Islam because Garry represents the kind of big welterweight that the champion will eventually have to deal with in the division. However, he also warned that Garry's size could work against him because Islam is such a strong wrestler. If Makhachev gets hold of Garry's legs, his long frame could actually give Islam more opportunities to control him on the ground. Bronstetter was particularly impressed by Garry's fight IQ and believed that could give him a path to victory. He explained that Garry is still young and continues to improve every time he fights, so if he can put together the right game plan, fight safely, and force Islam to fight on his terms, he has a real shot at pulling off the upset. Ultimately, Bronstetter leaned toward Islam Makhachev, saying that more often than not, the fight was Islam's to win. His prediction was based less on dismissing Garry and more on trusting the champion's proven ability at the highest level. Angelo Bodetti was confident that Islam Makhachev would beat Ian Machado Garry, mainly because he believed Islam's wrestling and top control would be too much over 25 minutes. He expected Islam to pressure forward, secure takedowns, and stay on top, ultimately winning by decision. However, Bodetti gave Garry plenty of credit, calling him a very good and intelligent fighter. He believed Garry was already the better striker in the matchup and would be well prepared for Islam because of the years he has spent improving his wrestling and BJJ. Despite respecting Garry's improvements, Bodetti remained fairly confident in Islam. He said his confidence came from believing that Makhachev would be able to get the takedowns and dominate once the fight hit the ground. Bodetti viewed Islam's grappling as the biggest difference between the two fighters and did not expect Garry to completely shut down the champion's wrestling. At the same time, he admitted that Garry might be one of the worst possible matchups for Islam because of his enormous frame, intelligence, and preparation. That made Bodetti somewhat cautious about how confidently he could pick the champion. This was what some of the top people in MMA had to say regarding the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Ian Machado Garry. Though many believe that Makhachev will retain his belt, others feel that Garry is capable of shocking the MMA community by pulling off an upset win. With a combination of Islam's superior wrestling skills and championship experience matched against Garry's physical stature, mobility, and fight IQ, this has become one of the fights of the year. The more it gets towards fight day, the more diverse these opinions are becoming, and this just serves to create more hype about this upcoming title fight. There is no doubt in my mind that these two men definitely have something to prove, and that when the doors to that cage open, there is not going to be any mercy shown by either of them. But what are your thoughts on the matter? Will Islam Makhachev remain unbeaten, or will Ian Machado Garry take the title?